Hello, everybody.
Hi, welcome back to Enter the Abyss. we got like nothing to start with.
Yeah, we never do. We're really boring people. I don't understand. So we have a fun.
Shut up, Cleet. So I picked a good beer. It's called Blizzard Wizard. It's a hazy pale ale from Proper Brewing Co.
Yeah, I like it.
And I chose it because I think that Utah had a Blizzard Wizard because we were like 70 degrees, did a bunch of yard work, and then it snowed like the next day. Pissed
Blizzard Wizard or Wizard Blizzard?
Same thing. Oh, well, I hope everyone had a good Easter weekend. I know I did. Having a son just totally reinvigorates Easter for me because I didn't do anything for like 10 years.
Yeah, was he looking for eggs?
No, he's still too young to do the whole egg thing, but like we'd go outside and my in-laws got a big blow-up house, bouncy house thing, and he didn't like that at all, but you know.
Come on,
I thought it was pretty cool. Just jump really high. So I have a question, Cleet. It's kind of a would you rather question, and I came across it, and I think that I want to know your answer.
Would you rather?
So, would you rather know when you are going to die or how you are going to die?
I'm going to pick when I'm going to die.
When?
Yeah.
Why when?
Well, it gives you peace of mind, you know? Like, let's say you know exactly the year you're going to die. Then you can plan for it. You can make like a list of things you want to do before you die. You have a bucket list. That way you don't like die with a pile of money, you know? You change how you invest. Yeah, but it's also about achieving life goals, right? Like if I knew I was going to die a month from now, I'd probably, you know, have a little bang of a party, you know?
A little bang.
Yeah, go out with a bang.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
I'm going to have myself a wee little bang.
I wonder if it's like preordained, though. You're like partying at a hotel in Vegas, and it's like, all right, 10 minutes. And you're like, what do? I don't know. I'll jump off the roof.
I'd be paranoid the whole time. Like, that's the thing. I mean, because I'm going to choose how I'm going to die.
You're like sweating of the day, you know, like, oh, shit.
Right. That's why I would choose how I'm going to die, because then I know, like, not to do that thing. But that's my question, is it would change it. Let's say it's like, you're going to die in a car accident. Let's say I never get in a car again. Well, I'd have to die some other way.
Yeah, let's say it's heart disease. And then you're like, okay, whatever. I'm going to drive cars crazy because I can't die from it.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I would do how because I just wouldn't do the thing that's going to kill me.
You would probably start being those people that walk on skyscrapers. Have you seen those videos?
Yeah.
Oh, my God, I hate those.
No, they drive me nuts. I start sweating and watching like, I can't do it.
Too.
It's not good.
Get off.
But, like, if I knew when I was going to die, like, I couldn't, like, you're like, you can plan for it, but I wouldn't be comfortable. I'm like, oh, man, because what if you got, like, 2 years? It's like, dude, I have 2 years left to live. Like, it'd be a great 2 years.
Yeah, it would be.
But I would be not happy for 2 years. Whereas if I know how I'm going to die, I'm like, okay, well, at least I know how.
Like
it's
10,
like peaceful in bed when you're 90.
10, 9, 8.
It's like that joke when the guy goes to the doctor. Well, that's not good, sir. It's not good. What do you mean? You have 6 to live. 6 what? 5, 4.
Imagine like you're hanging out with all your friends. You're like, all right, 10 seconds. I think we're going to be fine. Nothing's going to go wrong. And then a swordfish comes to the window and just stabs you in the heart.
A swordfish?
Yeah, you're like, Jesus, I did not see that coming. If only he knew.
Yeah, it's like, how am I going to die? A swordfish. How the fuck am I going to die by a swordfish? Like, I just won't go to the ocean. It comes flying through the window. What a twist.
What the twist? M. Night Shyamalan. We're selling the rights.
Of course. But anyway, so I thought was, you know, I just was curious as to what one you would choose. Because I wouldn't want to know how I'm going to die. And you're going when. So, both sides of the coin. What are you talking about, Cleet?
I am going to be talking about alien hand syndrome.
Alien hand syndrome?
Yeah.
That's made up.
Maybe.
You just made that up.
Maybe I did.
What are you really talking about?
Alien hand syndrome.
Okay.
Doctor Strangelove syndrome.
All right. I can't tell if Cleet's being real or not, so we're in for a treat, I think, because Cleet doesn't like to tell me what he's covering the week of. I'm going to be talking about Ronald DeFeo Jr.
I thought you were going to say Ronald McDonald.
Ronald McDonald.
All right, cool.
Found him in the Playhouse.
That's the Amityville person. I remember you bringing that up last time.
Yeah, which is why I wanted to talk about this.
Axeman.
It's not an axe.
He's not a superhero either.
Axeman to the rescue. Chopping down trees.
And his family.
His family is trees.
Yep.
It's one and the same.
Let's say you get home from work one day, open up a beer, relax for a few hours. I don't know, watch your soaps. eventually you decide that you're going to go to bed. Yeah, I just imagine what you do, Britton. You go home, watch some soap operas.
Man, you've got me nailed.
Sip Mike's Hard Lemonade. And then you're like, wow, I'm really tired. I'm going to go lay down. You lay down, you start to drift off into whatever your dreamscape has for you. And then all of a sudden you feel like there's a hand wrapping around your neck. The hand just starts choking you. And you get a shot of adrenaline. You jump up, terrified, flip on the light, only to see that your left hand is choking you out.
I'm choking myself?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you alien hand syndrome, or as known as Dr. Strangelove syndrome.
Or just a severe sense of hating yourself.
I love it, Dr. Strangelove. That's some strange love, Britton, you got there. I don't know.
I've always been into the choking.
So I had to look up the reference of that because I've heard of Dr. Strangelove, but I don't know what that is. It
reminds me of like a 007 villain.
Yeah, so he's from a movie that says How I Learned to Stop Worrying About Love, the Bomb.
What?
Where he's a titular character played by Peter Sellers, and he fights with his hand throughout the movie as if it has a mind of its own.
I have to watch this movie. Well, I'm going to go home tonight, and instead of watching my soap opera, I'm going to watch this movie.
Yeah. It was in 1935. Mad Love is a surgeon who replaces a man's hand with the hands of a murderer who still expresses the urge to throw knives.
Sounds like a blockbuster film.
You imagine that? You look to the right, you look back to the left, your left hand has a knife and it's just hucking it at somebody.
It's like, oh my God, no! I swear to God, it's this murderer's hands.
There have been various other horror films with characters who have possessed hands. From what I found was Hands of a Stranger, Idle Hands, The Addams Family, and my favorite B movie, Evil Dead.
Evil Dead is amazing.
Yeah, big fan of that. So let's jump into the facts. So cases have been observed and documented since 1909, and most of the sufferers report having brain surgeries or traumas right before they notice symptoms.
Right, so it's like they just wired their brain wrong. They separated what controls the left hand or the right hand.
Yeah, man, it gets weird. So alien hand syndrome has baffled patients and scientists for years, though the latter have started to understand where the problem originates in the brain. If your own hand attacks you, you may have this unusual but very real condition.
Is that why you're always smacking yourself?
Yeah, dude. And I remember actually.
You have a story.
When I was a kid, we were driving in California, and I was like 9, right? We were like in Venice Beach, which is like not the best area. Mm-hmm. And I remember I saw this like lady who was like, I don't know, in her 50s, and I'm like 9, and I see her walking down the street, and she's yelling, help me, and she's just slapping herself. As a kid, I was like, well, that's weird.
Was she on meth?
I don't know, man. Maybe she had alien hand syndrome.
Well, I have a story too. So my son, he's 14 months now, and he loves his dogs, loves his cat, but he starts pulling on him and yanking on him, so they keep biting at him. And so we started like, hey, no, don't do that. And so he started doing this thing where he starts smacking himself in the face. We're like, stop. Like, what are you doing? Like, and he's sitting there laughing. And we're like, oh my God, stop. So he has alien hand syndrome, I guess, in both hands.
Is both alien hands.
He's got double alien hand syndrome.
So alien hand syndrome differs in severity from person to person, but extreme cases have reportedly involved self-inflicting violence.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it is. People suffering have experienced punching themselves, choking, and stuffing food in their own mouths. Like, I can't stop. I can't eat this chicken wing because of my alien hand.
You really like that chicken wing. Britton, help me.
I'm so fucking full.
I can't eat anymore.
The movements aren't manic in nature, but rather purposeful and coordinated. So it's not just like random movements is what that's saying, right?
Yeah.
Like it has a mind. There's something behind it controlling it. Behavior like this is mortifying for the afflicted. So it's no wonder they also report experiencing psychological trauma and social anxiety. So let's jump into some examples of people who suffered with alien hand syndrome. Past tense, jackass. I'm talking to myself there. Our first person is Karen. Okay. Our first person is Karen Byrne from New Jersey.
Are you sure she's not just being a Karen?
Maybe. I was thinking the whole Karen thing when I was reading this. Come on, Karen.
I mean, that's the thing, being a Karen.
Her left hand's being a Karen.
It's like, okay, Karen,
Yeah.
You want to speak to my supervisor, Karen? You want to talk to my manager, Karen?
I'm God here, Karen. This is
I
as high
am
as
the
it goes.
manager. You are talking to the manager, Karen. Can I talk to your manager?
Can I speak to your parent, Karen? So her left hand and occasionally left leg started to move on their own volition. This started happening after she received surgery to cure her epilepsy, which was so bad she couldn't function as a regular person. Generally, surgeons have to cut out small sections of the brain where abnormal signals are emanating from, as this stops them from going epileptic in the future. Karen didn't have any origin or unusual brain activity, so they had to opt to a more drastic surgery where they severed the corpus callosum. Do you know what that is?
I'm assuming it's something in the brain.
Yeah, so it's what connects your left and right hemisphere of the brain. So you have like nerve fibers, like one section that connects it. And that's how your brains communicate to each other, because you actually have two, left and right. So after the surgery, it immediately cured her epilepsy. So she's fine. The end, right? Happy endings do happy. Well, for Karen, she couldn't be happy because this wasn't a happy ending. She started to suffer from alien hand syndrome. So in follow-up meetings with the doctors, her left hand would start unbuttoning her blouse, exposing herself to the doctors. Once the doctors...
It's not funny, but I just imagine, like,
So
what are you doing, Karen? Karen,
stop. Stop.
I can't.
So once the doctors made her aware of the situation, she panics and starts rebuttoning her shirt with her right hand. And as soon as her right hand leaves the buttons, her left hand just goes right back and starts to proceed unbuttoning them again.
Free the titties.
So it just kept going back and forth. That's hilarious. Free the titties. So one's a feminist and one's not.
I think that's actually a movement. Free the tatas, I think is what it's called.
Free the tatas, people. So her left hand didn't stop there. Karen would complain that she would light cigarettes, but then her left hand would reach forward and stub it out, which is hilarious.
Oh my God.
So apparently the left hand was health conscious while she wasn't.
Yeah. Well, so it wants the breasts out and it doesn't want smoking.
Sounds like it's like, I feel like the left hand just wants to have fun, but not smoke.
Yeah. Well, smoking's not fun.
Yeah, but not smoke.
It makes you cool as hell, but it is not fun.
God, I wish I could be as cool as possible, but I can't smoke. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
I quit 2 years ago, but I
Proud
was
of you,
cool
man.
back then.
Yeah, you were cool. It was like every time you lit up, I'm like, God damn, Cleet is cool.
Right in the office, I just smoke.
Like, look at Cleet go.
It would start taking things out of her handbag when she wasn't looking and throw the items out while she was walking. So she lost a bunch of personal possessions. Like, I could imagine, like, losing your keys all the time.
It's like,
You're
who
just
needs
son
this
of a bitch?
fucking credit card? Zing! Throws it over the aisle.
So Karen said that there seemed to be some type of power struggle going on in her brain between her two hemispheres. Once being in communication with each other, they're now information silos. In general terms, the left hemisphere controls the right arm and the right leg, and it's where your language skills reside. Your right hemisphere is responsible for spatial awareness and recognizing patterns. So for most people...
So if they're not communicating, you're fucked.
Well, sometimes. I mean, some people get that nerve fiber cut and they're fine, which is, weird. But for most people, the left hemisphere dominates the thinking and has the final say in the actions that we perform. So psychologists and doctors that have analyzed patients like Karen have come to a startling conclusion that each hemisphere of the brain may have its own personality and consciousness.
Oh my God.
Right? So Karen eventually got on some medication which roped in this renegade left hand in the left side of her brain.
You must contain yourself, left hemisphere.
Yeah. And eventually, I guess her extreme symptoms subsided, but she still has like the occasional weird thing going on.
It's like fall in line.
Yeah. So this story comes from the Journal of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry. It's a story of an 81-year-old right-handed woman with an unremarkable medical history. She developed spells of her left face, arm, and leg tingling. On admission elsewhere, she was confused and disoriented to place. She misidentified her daughter as a nurse and had left-sided numbness, mild weakness, and clumsiness of the arm.
I would worry that I'm having a stroke or heart attack, because those are like heart attack and stroke symptoms.
Yeah. She also had spatial neglect and and spatial neglect. On the second day, she complained that her left hand was acting as if it was under someone else's control. It would hit her face and head, and she reported that she was afraid of it.
Oh my God. Help me from my left hand.
It's so
I'm
sad.
afraid. This just gives us an excuse. Like, if you just want to walk up and punch somebody, like, dude, I've got alien hand syndrome.
Yeah,
I
sorry,
cannot control
I think
it.
you're a great person. Like, I really admire you. I think you're going to go places while you're just hitting them.
I really like you, but this is my left hemisphere. It's just not.
It'd be really rude if you tried to punch me back, because that's in your control. This is not in mine.
So,
It's like how you can't fight someone who has a baby in their arms, you know?
yeah.
It's kind of like a rule.
I mean, it depends
It's
on
a
what they
Key and Peele
did.
skit.
It's
You
what?
can't fight a guy that's holding a baby.
It's like, depends on what that guy did.
All right.
And you don't use a baby as a shield.
I'm holding the baby. Don't hit.
That's not even your child. Shut up. Just grab the nearest baby. I'm invulnerable.
My baby shield. All right. Back to this patient. On a transfer to the Massachusetts General Hospital, she occasionally scratched her left face and stroked her left forehead with her left hand. She made no attempt to look at her hand to correct the movements. She held her left hand with the right, claiming to keep him from hitting her.
Good
This
boy.
is so sad.
Good
man.
boy.
When asked what trouble brought her to the hospital, she said that her left hand had tried to strangle her. She repeated that someone was hitting and choking her neck, face, and shoulder. She asked the nurse to restrain her left hand, fearful that hitting of the breast will cause cancer.
She walks in holding the hand. Please restrain my hand.
You would like almost think like someone's crazy if they came up to you saying that, right? Like, I'm afraid of my left hand.
I call him Jake. He's an asshole.
I went on Reddit trying to search for stories, and like I went to like a forum. I was like, "Tell us your story about alien hand syndrome." Someone's like, "Well, when I was 13, my hand kept." I'm like, "All right, I'm out."
That's all you got?
No, none of these are from Reddit.
You know, if you sit on your hand long enough.
All right, we're done. Playing
call
Uno
that the
gets really
stranger.
difficult.
They call that the stranger.
These intermittent movements had an irregular speed with slow and smooth onset, became more jerky and rapid before hitting her body. So, kind of an interesting story, more of the violent nature. But it does almost say, like, if your left hand is violent, like your right hemisphere is causing a violent left hand, like it could potentially kill you. It could kill you in your sleep. Another story from the same journal talks about somebody named Ramon who recorded his first account from alien hand syndrome. While he was traveling on a bus, he noticed that a hand was approaching him on the right from behind, trying to catch him.
Is this the bus to nowhere?
Maybe it is. After the hand grasped his trouser leg, the hand did not release it. First, he thought somebody was assaulting him, but then he realized that it was his own right hand, although he did not feel like it belonged to him.
It's like, sir, let go.
That's
it's me.
creepy, man. That's so weird. Kind of reminds me of like on Liar Liar when he's trying to write this pen is red or blue. I can't
Starts
remember. But he
kicking his
can't
own ass
lie.
in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of.
I'm kicking my ass. Do you mind?
Who's touching my trousers? It's me. The fingers develop creeping movements and repetitive jerks involving the whole arm soon followed.
Oh, God.
I was unable to control my right hand and had to grasp and hold it with my left hand just to keep it under control. He said that he felt anguished, anxious, and frightened. But I would be too, because especially if it's violent, I'd be afraid to fall asleep. You never know.
If your own hand's trying to kill you, I'd be nervous too.
Imagine if you have a significant other, you could just start hitting them.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not me.
As most people are right-handed, alien hand syndrome typically affects people's left hand. It usually affects the non-dominant hand. This is called constructional apraxia. Apraxia is a neurological disorder in which people are not able to perform certain tasks with their hands, even if they understand the request and want to do it. There have been isolated incidents in which those who suffer from alien hand syndrome experience a rebellion from the dominant hand, but the experiences are rarer than the condition itself. Your dominant hand just became weird and you couldn't control it anymore. So I'll say a couple things on here, like some, because this isn't in all the stories, but I read cases like people's arms will just like slowly raise up like that when they're like not watching. They'll play with objects and stuff. So like they'll do fidget spinners and stuff like that. Apparently that helps it. So I'm going to leave you with the first ever recorded incident of alien hand syndrome. So it was reported in 1909 from a German psychiatrist, Dr. Kurt Goldstein, when he noticed strange movements in one of his stroke patients. There have been 40 to 50 cases since. Due to the condition's rarity, it hasn't been the subject of much research. Though it is listed in the U.S. National Library of Medicine, they describe an incident where a 77-year-old woman observed her hand stroking her face while watching TV.
She's giving herself a good old pet.
Yeah, that's like a nice hand, you know. At least
starts smacking. It's like, change the channel.
When the symptoms subsided, that side of her body felt weak. Even though alien hand syndrome was first recorded in the 1900s, it wasn't until 1972 that it was officially recognized as a real condition. According to the U.S. National Library of Medicine, researchers observed 3 cases of patients with colossal tumors who were unable to recognize their own hands. They coined the term alien hand. The reason why alien hand syndrome is so baffling, though, is that the medical community agrees it's the result of brain damage, but most of the recorded cases involve patients who have had the corpus callosum surgery to relieve symptoms of epilepsy. When the nerves that connect the hemisphere to the brain are snipped, something can go wrong in the transfer of information between the left and right brain hemispheres.
You think?
In the worst case, that results in unwanted actions. And it can also result in degenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, aneurysms, strokes, and brain tumors.
Mental effects like that I think that's what I'm most scared of as I get older, like Alzheimer's, forgetting everything, aneurysms, like the fact that literally could just be done, like immediately you could die from an aneurysm.
Yeah, I remember reading that on Reddit. Like you just die in seconds.
It's ridiculous.
I think the most intriguing thing of this is when they were talking about how the hemispheres can have separate personalities. So I was like thinking like Karen is like this like, I don't know, like kind of highly wound person, but her right hemisphere is like frisky. And she like saw the doctor and like her right brain was like, oh yeah, just started undoing her blouse.
I like this doctor.
And her left brain was like, what the hell? What's going on? This isn't me.
No smoking.
No smoking, you son of a bitch.
Smoking causes cancer.
So that's alien hand syndrome. So if your hands do things in the middle of the night that you don't want them to, you might have it.
Well, let's jump into some good old-fashioned murder from Ronald DeFeo Jr.
All right.
So again, he just died last month, and when they announced like, "Hey, Ronald DeFeo Jr. died," I was like, "Okay, who's that?" Like the name doesn't resonate with me. And then I was like, "Oh, it's the Amityville Horror guy," and I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't know he was actually still alive."
I thought he was Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, that's that. So there's been like dozens of remakes and movies and everything.
Oh yeah.
The Ryan Reynolds movie though, there was one scene in particular that scared the shit out of me. It's like when he's in the bathroom and he looks up in the mirror. Yeah, and it's like that bloody face. That scared me so bad.
I saw that when I was a kid. That scared me too.
Same. Ronald DeFeo Jr. was born September 26th, 1951, and he was the American mass murderer who had been tried and convicted for the brutal murders of his father, mother, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters in Amityville, Long Island, New York.
Sad, man.
This would come to be known as the Amityville Horror, which would go on to inspire several books, movies, and countless references in all other forms of media and entertainment. I think I've seen like 2 or 3 different Amityville Horror movies.
Yeah, I remember in one of the versions they used actual real skeletons in the final scene. You know that?
The Exorcist.
No, in the Amityville when they go into the mud at the end. It's like raining and everything.
That's the Exorcist.
Poltergeist.
We Googled it because we wanted to know. It was Poltergeist. We were both wrong. So Poltergeist used real skeletons. But anyway, there's been several movies based on the Amityville Horror. I think my favorite was the Ryan Reynolds ones because it scared me the most.
I need to rewatch them because it's been a while.
On November 13th, 1974, at roughly 6:30 p.m., 23-year-old Ronald went into Henry's bar in Long Island declaring, "You gotta help me. I think my mother and father are shot."
It's a perfect crime. You gotta be the guy helping, and they'll never suspect you.
Exactly.
I was trying to save them at the bar.
Yeah. This obviously received prompt attention, to which a small group of people in the bar went with him to 112 Ocean Avenue that was pretty close to the bar. So these people are like running through, going to go catch the guy who killed his parents. Upon entering the home, they found both of his parents dead. A friend of DeFeo named Joe Yeswit contacted authorities at the Suffolk County Police Department. When they arrived at the scene, they found all 6 members of the family dead in their beds. That'd be a hard scene to walk into.
Yeah, I wouldn't like it.
This is like children.
You got to be nervous too, because like you never know like who killed them, right? Especially if you're from the bar.
They could
Part
still
of
be
me in the back
house.
of my mind, I'd be like, I think the guy who led us here could be the murderer, so let's get the cops here as soon as possible.
Right. They're in the house. Go in the house. He just kills everyone that goes in the house.
Yeah, dude.
It's a perfect setup. The victims of the murders were DeFeo's parents, Ronald DeFeo Sr., who was 43, and Luis DeFeo, also 43. Ronald's 4 siblings, Don, who was 16, Allison 13, Mark 12, and John Matthew 9. Every one of them had been shot with a .35 caliber lever-action Marlin 336C rifle at around 3 a.m. His parents had both been shot twice, whereas the children were single shots. Evidence gathered at the scene suggests that both Louise and Allison had been awake prior to being shot and killed. Like, that's
really sad.
yeah. All victims were found in their beds face down. The DeFeo family had resided at their home on 112 Ocean Avenue since buying the property in 1965, so just under 10 years. All victims were buried in St. Charles Cemetery in Farmingdale, which was near their home. Ronald DeFeo Jr. had a nickname and went by Butch. He was obviously the only survivor in his family, right?
Because he had the gun.
Yeah, because he went, well, we don't know. He went and saved. He went to the bar, tried to get people, my parents are shot, come help. But it definitely raised suspicion. He's the only one alive, so obviously all signs are pointing to him. He told police that the murders were carried out by a mob hitman named Louis Fellini, so he was taken into the police station for his own protection after this wild claim.
It was the mob.
Yeah. I don't know much about the mob, but like it seems like that's how the mob would leave a family, like face down in the bed with a gunshot in the head. That seems like a mob thing.
Yeah, why not?
Once at the station, he was questioned, which is where his story started to fall apart with all the inconsistencies. During the second day of questioning, he finally broke and confessed to the murders himself, and Fellini was in the clear after having a solid alibi of being out of state during the night. So he was like, it was that guy.
I'm just Italian. How dare you?
I don't even know you.
I'm not even in the mob.
It's like he actually just picked a name that actually exists. He's like, dude, I was in like Seattle. What do you want from me?
Oh, man.
During the questioning, DeFeo said, and I quote, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." He also admitted to taking a bath and redressing after he had murdered his entire family, and where he had actually dumped the evidence, including his blood-stained clothes and the rifle. Then he went to work as he normally would. No remorse. Just killed his family, took a shower.
Gotta go do the daily grind, am I right?
Trimmed his beard a little bit, slicked back his hair, went to work, 9 to 5, then ran to the bar after. My parents are dead. So let's talk about the investigation of the crimes, because it gets a little weird. First and foremost, as I mentioned earlier, every victim was found in bed, face down, and there were no signs whatsoever of any struggle. If he had in fact shot them all, you would think a rifle going off would wake them up pretty quickly, right? Like it's just, you hear one gunshot, everyone's going to wake up. But,
how old are the kids? They might have just been scared. They just didn't want to move.
well, the kids were 16, 13, 12, and 9.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's a gunshot, though. Like, you're not going to sleep through that.
Well, they were probably too afraid to leave the bed. Like, I could see that.
Right? I mean, it could be. The rifle was found having no silencing equipment, but they did find traces of sedatives that had been administered.
Ruh-roh.
DeFeo admitted to drugging his family during the investigation and questioning. The odd thing is, during the autopsy, the report indicated something completely different. The doctor that performed the autopsy, Dr. Adelman, said, "We did an extensive toxicology not only on the blood and urine, but on all the organs that we removed, and it turned up 0 that there wasn't anything in their body." Something's fishy. Neighbors were also asked about that night, and none of them had heard any gunshots being fired that evening. And the few that were awake during that time had only heard the family sheepdog, Shaggy, barking. I mean, it's at 3 a.m. is when they suspect they were killed. But who's awake at 3 a.m.? I know you are.
Yeah.
Reading Reddit.
I actually have an alarm to wake up at 3 a.m.
You're like, get my day started at 3 a.m.
I just go to McDonald's, get a burger, and I go to bed. Oh boy, 3 a.m.
Hot and spicy. After all the questioning, any motive for the killings was unclear. The only thing they gathered was Ronald had a bad relationship with his father and had eventually asked how he could go about collecting on the life insurance policy.
Ah.
This is unfortunately a large contributor to killings all over the world, but police weren't sold on this idea. But yeah, there's like really no other motive.
Yeah, I got life insurance on you, Britain.
I never signed the paper.
Day.
Never
Waiting
signed the
for
paper.
the day.
Forged my signature.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I'm starting to get drowsy. What'd you put in this drink? In the years after, DeFeo gave several different stories on how the killings were done. In one interview for Newsday in 1986, he made the claim that his sister Dawn killed the father, which caused the mother to become distraught, causing her to murder all the children with a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver, which caused Ronald to kill his mother out of self-defense. Do you believe that story?
Nope.
Sister kills the dad, mom goes nuts, kills all the kids, he kills the mom.
I believe like one day his mom made him some really bad dinner and he's like, oh, you're going
That's
to
it.
pay for this. Everyone's going to pay for this.
That was the straw. He reported that he was taking the blame in order to protect his mother's innocence. He was afraid that if he spoke out against her, his mother's father, Michael Brigante Sr., or his father's uncle, Peter DeFeo, would find and kill him.
No, self-defense.
Apparently his father's uncle is a cap regime, or captain of the mafia,
Oh.
in the Genovese crime family. So not someone you really want to piss off. During this same interview, Ronald claims to have been married to Geraldine Gates at the time of murders and was living with her in New Jersey. He claimed his mother called him over to the house to break up a fight between his sister Dawn and their dad. He said he drove to Amityville with Geraldine's brother, Richard Raimondo, who was with him at the time of the murders and would verify the whole story is true.
Yeah. Okay.
So just ask this Richard guy.
Does he exist?
We might be coming up with another twist.
Oh, the twist.
In the year 1990, Ronald filed a 440 motion, which is a proceeding to have his conviction vacated. He claimed this time that his sister Dawn had an assailant, who unfortunately fled the house before Ronald could identify him. He had been the one to kill the parents, and Dawn subsequently killed the siblings. Like, so she had a friend come over that killed the parents, and she killed her siblings.
Okay, all right.
Right? Which one's more believable, the first or second?
I believe him. He seems like a trustworthy person.
Well, he's told two different stories. So.
Yeah, because he forgot the details.
Okay,
in
I see.
the heat of the moment.
All the shock is wearing off, and now the real story is coming out.
Oh,
I see.
yeah.
Okay.
Not the one that he fabricated overtime in a jail. Try to get him out.
Yeah, okay. Ronald claimed the only one he killed was Dawn, but it had been by accident after they engaged in a struggle over the rifle. He then stated again that he had been married to Geraldine and was with her brother that night, who had witnessed the whole thing. An affidavit was submitted to the court by Richard Raimondo, but he could not be found to testify in person.
Maybe he got killed by the mafia.
Maybe he did. Obviously, they're not just going to take your word for it, so they did some investigations. The investigation from Suffolk County District Attorney's Office suggested that Richard didn't even exist and that Geraldine Gates was living in upstate New York and had been married to someone else during the time of the murders. His story's just crumbling, man. Geraldine did not testify at the hearing, as authorities had confronted her prior about these false claims. In 1992, they secured a statement under oath where she admitted her brother was completely fictitious and she hadn't married DeFeo until 1989 before the filing of the 440 motion. Judge Stark ultimately denied the 440 notion, writing the following. So this is what he said. I find the testimony of the defendant overall to be false and fabricated. His testimony that during the fall of 1974 he was married and lived with his wife and child at Long Branch, New Jersey, is incredible and not worthy of belief. He produced no corroborating evidence in this regard. Another reason for my disbelief of defendant's testimony is demonstrated by consideration of several portions of the trial testimony. He signed a lengthy written statement describing in detail his activities. In this statement, he said that he lived with his family at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville and that he worked for his father, that he usually went to and from work with his father, and that he was ill and stayed home from work on November 12, 1974, that he was on probation for having stolen an outboard engine and had an appointment to see his probation officer in Amityville on that very afternoon. Defendant's girlfriend, Mindy Weiss, testified that she began dating the defendant in June 1974 and was with him frequently that summer and fall. Stark further declared, defendant's testimony that he did not shoot and kill the members of his family is likewise incredible and not worthy of belief. So he just didn't believe it at all. On November 30th, 2000, Ronald DeFeo met with Rick Osuna, who wrote the book The Night the DeFeos Died, which became published in 2002. Osuna said they spoke in great detail for a whopping 6 hours. He would be a crazy one to interview, man.
Yeah.
Like after shooting your 6 family members to talk about it. Like any serial killer to interview, can you imagine?
It'd be interesting, yeah. Ted Bundy tapes.
DeFeo wrote a letter to radio host Lou Gentile in which he denied giving Rick Osuna any information that he could put into his book. He said that he immediately left the interview without providing anything substantive.
But how would you have killed them?
Not
if
saying
you wanted to. Like, not incriminating you.
If you could have a get-out-of-jail-free card,
If
how would
you
you
had
do
a
it?
friend who did it, tell me how your friend did it.
If the mob were to carry out these killings, how do you think they'd perform it? Osuna went on to talk about his interview with DeFeo and that he claimed to murder his family with his sister Dawn and 2 friends named Augie DeGenero and Bobby Kelsky. So here's a third telling, that her and Dawn and her friends decided to murder the family.
He just remembers it differently.
Yeah. Very differently. This was done out of desperation because the parents had a secret plot to murder the children.
Oh.
Seems legit. DeFeo went on to claim that after a rather heated argument with his father, he planned to kill the parents with his sister and that Dawn had killed the siblings to eliminate witnesses.
Oh, so they killed them because they were going to kill the children, but the children saw them kill them, so they had to kill the children?
He said that Dawn killed the children. Now, he became furious with Dawn for what she had done, so he knocked her out, put her on the bed, and shot her in the head.
Oh, okay, because, that makes sense.
So the parents were plotting to kill them.
So he was a good guy.
Yeah, so then they killed the parents, but then the sister's like, well, we can't have witnesses, so I'm going to kill my siblings.
And
then he killed her.
All right, that makes sense.
I think that's the most logical.
He's a good guy.
Yeah. I mean, he's just, again, he just didn't want to die. During the investigations, unburned gunpowder had been found on Dawn's nightgown, which proved she had discharged a firearm. Uh-oh. It's getting even crazier. This was later argued against as ballistic expert Alfred Della Pena stated that unburned gunpowder is discharged through the muzzle of a gun, which meant that she had been in proximity of the muzzle when it went off, rather than her being the one to fire it. This claim was tested by an expert and was found to be true, along with what I mentioned before about Dawn not showing any indication of being in a struggle. The bullet wound was the only fresh mark on her body. Of all the claims in Osuna's book, the majority belonged to DeFeo's ex-wife, Geraldine Gates. During an interview in 1986 for Newsday, she said she married Ronald in 1974, but in the book she claims to have married him in 1970. The divorce case in 1993 states they met in 1985, married in 89, and divorced in 93.
I'd like to imagine, it was that person that killed everyone, and he runs in the room, and he's like, stop, and they're like, ha ha ha, and they just throw the gun behind him and it hits the wall and shoots that person in the back of the head. He's like, no one's gonna believe this. No one's gonna believe this.
Nobody. The numerous changes in stories that Ronald DeFeo Jr. told over the years gained the attention of an American skeptic and paranormal investigator by the name of Joe Nickel. He said that any new story should be approached with caution as the story continues to change. When he told 4 or 5 different stories, which one do you believe?
All of them.
Yeah. They're all true to some degree. Ronald DeFeo's trial began on October 14th, 1975. He, along with his defense lawyer William Weber, made an affirmative defense of insanity, claiming that he killed his family in self-defense after hearing them plot against him. So the actual story that he went with, the true tried story that he said, was that there was a plot that his family was trying to kill him. So that's why he killed them.
Self-defense.
Right. This insanity.
Even the kids wanted to kill him.
Right.
They were in on it. They had guns.
I mean, the oldest is always the target. This insanity plea was supported by Daniel Schwartz, who was the psychiatrist for defense. Dr. Harold Zolan, who is the psychiatrist for the prosecution, stated that although DeFeo was a frequent user of heroin and LSD, he had antisocial personality disorder and was completely aware of his actions during the crime. On November 21st, 1975, DeFeo was found guilty on 6 counts of second-degree murder, and on December 4th, 1975, Judge Thomas Stark sentenced DeFeo to 6 sentences of 25 years to life in prison.
Was justice served that day? Only you can decide.
He was held at Sullivan Correctional Facility in Fallsburg, New York. All of his appeals and requests to the parole board were denied up to his death. Ronald DeFeo died on March 12th, 2021, so almost a month ago. Like just a couple days, almost a month ago.
All right.
At Albany Medical Center with the official cause still yet to be determined.
Yeah.
So, that is the story of the Amityville DeFeo murders.
Sad.
Like, I did a lot of research and I couldn't really, like, it didn't really describe, like, how it happened. The guy just told a lot of nonsense. They really never found out, like, how it actually happened.
You should pull up the Amityville horror picture, famous picture. Pull it up. So there's a picture online. I'll put this on the YouTube. But paranormal investigators were, like, going through the house trying to find, like, you know, any proof of the afterlife. And they came up with one of the most famous pictures of a supposed ghost. It's right around the staircase, and you can just see like a head poking out of the room, and it looks like a kid, one of the kids that was killed. Skeptics say that it was one of the researchers walking out of that room, but it looks like a damn kid. So
yeah, that's not a grown-ass researcher. That is a child.
Yeah,
Like,
right? Isn't that a crazy picture, man?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this picture several times. I didn't know it was actually Amityville. That's
Yeah.
really cool. But like, unless they're having children do the investigation with them, that's not an investigator.
It's either that or a hoax. Dude, it's creepy.
Yeah,
as hell.
that's really creepy. Yeah, so I mean, if you watch it on YouTube and stuff, we'll post a picture there.
Its eyes are glowing, by the way.
But you can also just go anywhere online, type in Amityville famous picture. But yeah, it's really cool. But then there was another family that moved in after. I think it's the Lutz family. So the Lutz family spent 28 days in the home, and they had just experienced a bunch of paranormal stuff. Like, they had the house consistently blessed. They would hear voices. And I know the Ryan Reynolds movie that we watched, it was like a demonic type presence. Like, he was being possessed to kill his family. It's like a different telling, obviously.
Interesting.
But that's Ronald DeFeo Jr.
Remember, do not follow the light.
And if your hand starts, trying to kill you, go to the doctor and check your hemispheres out.
And as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next time.